We're not all criminals. But like you said, we got to be careful because they have the power.
Yeah, that's right. But sometimes a man got to do what a man got to do. Just like when our parents were slaves. If it wasn't for guys like Frederick Douglass or Nat Turner, we'd still be slaves today.
We still are slaves. Wage slaves. The workplace is our plantation. The production assistants and casting directors are our overseers. Because without money, we're nothing. In fact, less than nothing. Lower than low. And the bosses know it too because a lot of them were once workers too.
They actually worked? Are you for real?
Yeah, I'm for real. A lot of them came to this country plumb broke, but made it big. How about that Jewish guy who has that big movie studio on the other side of town? I heard he came to this country from Russia with nothing. Now look at him.
That don't mean nothing. He's white, so he can make it in this. He came to this country with a big advantage over us. Our people came here and changed, and we are never allowed to forget it. What bugs me is that you have all kind of people coming in this country making the big bucks, while we blacks who was here from the start are kept down, made to grovel and scrounge, and are treated like we count for nothing. Nothing.
Well, that's not entirely so, Jim. Look at the progress we've made since we've been freed.
What progress? We work, pay taxes, do all kind of stuff, but for what? We're still not treated as equal, and that's a fact. If we were, they wouldn't be making fun of us like they do in the movies.
Well, we're not the only ones who get poked fun at. What about all those white comics like Laurel and Hardy, for instance? You don't hear white people complaining about them.
That's different. It's one thing for white people to laugh at themselves because they take it as a joke. But when they start in with us, there's an edge to their so-called humor, which is meant to put us down, keep us in our place, and make us feel like we count for nothing. Like for instance, this morning, I heard on the radio this white comedian telling all kind of nasty jokes, and a lot of these jokes was about black men making it sound like we're nothing but a bunch of stupid thugs, drunks and the like. You know, like, if we're nothing but a bunch of idiots. I could hear the audience laughing, yeah. Like, they sure loved it, but I wasn't laughing, not one bit. Once again, the black man is being reduced to the level of a joke, a thing. Not to be taken seriously. It's pure racism masquerading as human. And all it does is set people against us.
I've never seen it that way before, but now that I come to think of it, a couple of days ago, I was talking to this white guy and he started cracking all these jokes about Polish people and the Irish. At the time, I thought they were hilarious and we both were laughing up a storm. But after listening to you, I can see that those jokes like those can really be mean and cruel and meant to keep people down. Well, as far as I'm concerned, we do count for something, which is why we gotta keep on going and not give up.
That's all I ever hear nowadays. Just hang in there, just stay the course, keep on the safe track. We'll get to the promised land soon enough. But damn it, I'm tired of it. I can't wait no longer and I want my share of the pie.
Don't you think I'm hungry for my slice too? We all feel this way.
I don't know how we all feel, but this is how I feel. And if every black man in America felt the same way, then nothing could stop us. We'd get what's ours. We built this country from nothing, for nothing. And now it's time for payback. Time to cash in and live the good life.
Well, before you start sending out your letters, think about what's happening to the Jews in Germany.
What about them?
They're being treated worse than we are, and they're white.
That's just further proof that we got to do something fast to protect ourselves. Because if they treat white people the same way, then there's no telling what they do to us if they had a chance. Look at what Germany and Russia did to Poland. They obliterated an entire country. And the Poles is white. And what about what happened to those Italians that was lynched in New Orleans in 1891? And the Jews who was pelted with garbage in New York in 1901? During a funeral procession, no less? After that incident, the Jews said nobody ever treated them that way. Not even in Russia where they was hated.
If Jews can be bullied around and they supposedly control everything, then what chance do we have against the system here?
Right now, none. We're not united. We have some brothers who say, no problem, everything's just fine. Then you have others who say, we have problems, but let's not rock the boat. I don't know what planet they operate from. And then there's those who are angry and want to change things but don't know what to do. They're the ones that get into trouble.
I sure wish I could have told that prissy lady in the old South movie what I really thought about her.
Someday you may have that chance, especially if someone make a sequel, but unfortunately for now, you have to bid your time until we get organized.
Who's going to help us out?
Right now, nobody. And that's why I want to bring together other blacks.
But what good would that do? They're just as bad off as we are.
Then I'll contact some white actors too. And maybe some of them will be willing to join us.
Yeah, right. I can just imagine Fluffy and Agnes getting a letter asking them to help us. Boy, would that be a laugh. No, Jim. I don't think that would be a good idea. And besides, if being black in the United States is a problem for us, then aren't we the ones who should have to deal with it?
Of course, but they'll be our backup. Don't you get it? We can't go at this alone.
You're dreaming. There's no way that any white people are going to stick their necks out to help us. That's a little bit of a stretch.
That's not true. There's some white people out there who would help us out.
You mean guys like Randy who do blackface and make us look and sound like jerks?
Don't get me wrong, that burns me up too.
And sing those stupid songs reminiscing about the old South, you know, when we were slaves?
Like Rockabye Your Baby. Now you know I can't stand that song.
But for white people, those were the good old days.
Not for us though. We did all the picking while they made all the money.
To tell you the truth, this whole subject is starting to give me a real bad headache.
Hey look, I don't hate anybody. All I want is to be treated with dignity and respect. But to achieve that in this country requires struggle because I could change my name, but I can't change the color of my skin.
It all comes down to a question of changing attitudes, both theirs and ours.
True. But no matter what, we still gotta speak up, speak out, and make ourselves heard. Otherwise, we'll be overtaken, pushed aside, and declared expendable.
Well, I wouldn't want that to happen.
Well, it can happen. I remember when I was in New York, I took a ferry boat to the Statue of Liberty. And on the statue was a poem about how America welcomes all those who's yearning to be free. Well, we yearning to be free. We want to live the American dream, not just dream it. One day, we show up with a message of hope for all us black folks, and then when that day comes, it'll be like another Emancipation Proclamation. But this time it won't be coming from a white man, but from a black man, and people will listen.
I sure would love to live to see that day.
Maybe you will, maybe. Maybe you will.
End of Act 1, Scene 1. Act 1, Scene 2. Time, evening. Place, a rehearsal room. Fluffy is rehearsing for a show. She's reciting lines from a script.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's what you are. You're in this room. You traveled so far.
Fluffy then stops, looks up, surprised, and speaks to the audience.
Oh, hello there. I didn't know you were watching me. I was just rehearsing my lines for my upcoming show, Fluffy the Girl Next Door. I play a young, innocent girl who lives next door to a kindly older gentleman, Mr. Aloysius, who has lots of money and needs an assistant to help him write his book. My boyfriend, who's a big-time movie mogul, told me that I'm perfect for the part. Yeah, he told me so himself, and I know I can believe every word he says because he's a producer, and producers never lie. Yes, besides, he likes me. Some people say he likes me because of my beautiful legs or my pretty smile, but I know they're wrong. Just yesterday, he told me we're gonna get married as soon as he divorces was his wife. She had the nerve to call me a homewrecker just because I gave her husband a little kiss on the cheek. How could little old me possibly wreck anything? Now I've got to get back to practicing my lines, so I do hope you don't mind if you excuse me.
Fluffy resumes reading from the script.
I can't help being so beautiful, so sweet, so fine. My long blonde tresses are not contrived. You might say that I'm a little dipsy, but maybe that's because the world is tipsy. And then Mr. Aloysius says, "My girl, you are so charming. Please join me in my apartment for a cup of tea." And then I say to Mr. Aloysius,
What are you doing here?
"Well, I'm pressing my lines. You want to hear?"
No, I don't want to hear. I want you to leave.
Why are you so steamed at me? I just want us to be friends, that's all.
You say that one more time and I'll be sending you on a one-way trip to Mars.
Oh, no need to get so huffy. But since you're here, let me tell you something I say to Mr. Aloysius' daughter. I tell you, girl, just get a life and stop your guff. It's really rife. You see, my gal, that I am hip. So please, no more unpleasant lip. Aren't those lines clever?
Honey, I've just about had it with you. I mean, it's just not fair. I have more talent in my little finger than you have in your whole body. Yet you're a star and I'm a nothing.
Well, my darling mother once said, some people have it, and some people just don't.
And my mother once said, those who run off the mouth and make a lot of noise, and right now you're making a whole lot of noise, which I'm gonna fix right now.
The lights go out. Then from the darkness come sounds of Fluffy screaming.
No! 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 Ah!
Then from the darkness, Mabel's voice can be heard.
I taught that girl a lesson. I guess Mr. Aloysius is gonna have to find himself a new neighbor, and hopefully she'll be black.
End of Act 1. We'll now take a 10-minute intermission.